Good morning, everybody. I'm Dave, and this is Alaskan Homesteading. In one of my earlier videos, you saw that the cover came off my Shelterlogic in a really terrible windstorm this year. This cover had been on here for, I don't know, 3 years maybe. So overall, in terms of how these things stand up in Alaska, it worked really well. It lasted about as long as I could really hope for. But I have a spare Shelterlogic in the shop, and so I'm going to be using the canvas, or whatever you call this material, the cover parts from that, to recover this one. I've already done a few repairs to the Shelterlogic. The structure of it was messed up too, and so I'll show you a couple of those pieces. And I had to re-lay out the foundation boards that hold it to the ground, pin it down with some more rebar, and all of that. Anyhow, let's go ahead and get started. Here's my box of spare parts for the Shelterlogic. I've robbed a couple of metal pieces from it to replace ones that got damaged on the original. This one, I think I ran into it with the tractor one time when I was plowing snow that had built up next to the thing. And on this one, the whole end of this tube broke off. You can see it here. It just got beat up too much, bending back and forth in the wind and everything with the structure flexing. So that came apart. So I've got those two pieces that I'm going to rob out of this spare set, and then I've got a few more things. Over here we have the front and back doors, or really the back wall and the front door. That front door, that's got the zipper for the little garage door that rolls up. And I'm debating whether I might want to replace those little bottom corner legs and get them freshened up, because the ones that are on there are pretty beat up. And then I've got some extra hardware just for any missing bolts that might have come out while the structure was flexing. And in this box is the entire top tent section. This is actually pretty heavy all by itself, and getting that installed solo is going to be a neat trick. Keep an eye out. Watch till the end, because that's going to be the last thing I do in this, and installing that's going to be really interesting. The first thing we have to do is put up the back wall and the front wall, because those get wrapped around these end tubes, and then the overall cover goes over that part. So back end first, front end second, cover third. Now, the first thing I have to do is get up here and just check a couple of things, make sure stuff's still tight, and it's not, so I'm going to have to tighten up some of these bolts. Have a quick tightening on some of these guys. This one's actually missing a nut, so I'll have to replace that before reassembling. I'm gonna rob one from something else and put it up there. I've got a whole bag of new hardware inside, so I can borrow whatever parts I need from wherever to put this back together. That's better. A little more rigid there now. And that one's loose. I guess one lesson learned with this thing is periodically just come out and tighten things up. Get any loose nuts re-secured, re-tightened. It'll help with the structure's overall rigidity and keep it from flexing so much in the wind. I'd like this next cover to last another 3 years or so, at least. Hopefully it'll stand the test of time. Got a whole missing bolt up there. Time to go raid my bag of hardware. Already, this thing is way stiffer than it was yesterday. Too far. When you're working on ladders, pay attention to how far you're reaching. Don't lose your balance. Just move the ladder. This end piece has to come off, unbolted, as part of the strap for the rear wall goes around this. Oh, there we go. All right, easy enough. This is the back end wall. So we're just gonna unfold it here. So the white goes on the inside. Gray obviously is the exterior color for this particular shed. And so the starting point is the peak. And so this is that strap that runs along the edge that allows you to tension it and cinch it onto the structure. This has to go sort of inside that ridge beam. So we'll carry this up, hook it in, and then we'll start getting the other pieces hooked in. Like these pieces here, same deal. They have to go on the inside of those purlins, I guess, or girts, depending on how you look at it. And then you put the tensioners at the bottom and cinch it all down. So this just gets hooked inside there. And that's where that starts. And then you do basically the same thing here. There we go. And this goes in here. And put it back together. The assembly process here is slightly, non-linear or out of order. It's because what we're doing is a repair. We're replacing the whole cover instead of building the thing from scratch. And let me tell you, building this thing, it was a lot of work. I ended up making each of the vertical ribs first, leaving them in a stack, built them inside the garage, and then I had to bring them out and kind of stand each one up separately, tie them together, and so on and so forth until I was done. It was pretty tedious. All right, now that that's on there, I've got to bolt this back together. Oh, I should have brought my hammer up. Oh well. Oh wait, I did bring my hammer. Man, that's effective. So what has to happen now is you get these edges wrapped around these main tubes, and I think I'm going to learn something here because these bolt heads, or the ends of these bolts, are sticking through, and I'm going to cover them up with something. I'm going to put a little I don't know, Gorilla Tape or something around that, just to kind of keep them from biting into the fabric, because it's the fabric is going to be in contact with that. When it's tightened down, that can start ripping, and that's what'll start taking these things apart for you, is the little tears in the fabric. Overall, it's pretty sturdy stuff, but it will it'll give way over time. And oh, look at that came down. And it's somewhat rip stop. Like if a rip starts, it usually will kind of self-terminate for a bit, but it creates a weak point, and the thing will just start coming apart from there. It's only hoarding if you never find a use for it. I don't like to throw away bicycle inner tubes because this rubber can be useful for all kinds of stuff. And today, what I'm going to use it for is to protect that end wall fabric from the bolts that stick through that frame that it's going to have to wrap around and be exposed to. So I'm going to cut some little pieces of this and wrap them around where that bolt penetrates, and then tape it on with some Gorilla Tape. This stuff lasts forever, practically. And then once it's covered with the end wall fabric, it'll be protected from the elements and really stay on there for a very, very long time. And this nice sturdy rubber will protect the fabric. So this is what we've got. I just cut a little, like 3 or 4 inch, 4-inch section of inner tube. Got it folded over, so that's going to have 4 layers of inner tube rubber, and then we'll just put it around the tube, tape it down, and be done. Just to give you a detailed view of what I'm talking about, these screws or bolts all protrude through the tubes, and because this piece of fabric is going to be wrapped around this tube to cinch it on, the screws that are bolts that protrude through here have a chance of tearing that fabric. So this rubber and tape should hold that really nicely and protect the fabric from getting torn. The next step is to install the ratchet tensioners. They just hook into these feet, and you run this strap through it and tighten it down, and it helps cinch the fabric around the posts. You can go ahead and get started installing this tensioner, and that's going to go in here. So it goes over this bar. Run this strap through and start tightening. Now you only want to tighten a little bit on each side, so you want to do it pretty evenly, and then as it's getting tight, we'll have to go back up the ladder and re-wrap this fabric around these posts, because it's just, it's hanging loose right now, so it won't stay where I'm putting it. Well, that's one really nicely installed end wall. It's good and tight, and there's really not much else to say. I feel like I've done a much better job on this installation, having protected the fabric from some of those bolts. It was one of the weak spots that I identified towards the end when the thing started to really come apart. If there was anything that I would want the Shelterlogic company to improve on, it's that. I don't know, they could provide a means in the kit to protect the fabric from the bolts. I don't know what they would do. Maybe some kind of rubber, boot or something that could go over it. I'm not really sure. I'm not a temporary garage product engineer. But anyway, that would be a good improvement. Shelterlogic, if you happen to ever see this video, think about making that improvement. At any rate, now I've got to do the front wall. I'm going to do that one kind of, I think I'll just do a time lapse, because it's really the same process. I just need to get the fabric draped over, cinched on, and then we'll be done. All right, well, I don't learn my lessons. I will never buy another GoPro again, ever, after using them. This thing keeps on shutting itself off after, running out of battery, and it's got, 28% left on a GoPro branded battery. So these things are junk. I need to switch to like an Insta360 or something. But that rant aside, I lost my time lapse of me putting this end wall up because of that. And so anyway, little furious rant, but I got the end wall in. So now I've got both end walls. I've got the front door here, and now it is time to install the cover on top. And that is going to be the really tricky and fun one to do, because it is very heavy. I am working solo because my partner is currently recovering from some surgery and can't come out here and do physical things with me. So I've got to figure this out on my own, and luckily I've got a really good tool that's going to help me out. Check this out. This is Jeffrey the giraffe. Jeffrey is my boom lift. He is tall and yellow, and he helps me do things up high where a ladder just won't do the job, or it wouldn't really be safe. Jeffrey is a Hulot 4527, I think that's the number, 4527. So he can lift up 45 feet high and has a horizontal reach of 27 feet maximum. And the basket can carry 500 pounds, so 2 people or a person and some equipment. My plan is to grab the edge of the overhead cover and carry it up with me over the top on the boom lift, and then lower it down on the other side. I think it's probably the best way to do it. When we assembled the Shelterlogic the first time, we ended up putting a couple of ropes over, and the two of us dragged the thing over the top, and that worked. But I only have, me today, so we're going to give this a shot. One of the things that you should always use if you're going to be in aerial lift equipment is a safety harness. All it really does is it tethers you inside the basket, so that if something funny happens, if the basket was to tip a strange way, or if you reached and slipped and whatever, you can't fall out of the basket and go tumbling to your death or severe injury. So yeah, I always make sure to get this thing set up. It's got a kind of a flexi fall arrest piece, so these little crinkles will expand as the thing stretches out on a fall, and it sort of slows your descent. I've used this a bunch inside the shop to do overhead lighting. You may have seen some of the other videos on that. But now I'll be out here, and yeah, the goal is go up and over, grab the edge of it, the edge of the tarp, the cover, and pull it over to the other side. Hopefully this makes it easy. One of the other things that I like to do is always run a function test on all the stuff on the panel here. You've got speed selections on the right, you got an emergency stop button here, and then you've got controls for each of the sections of the boom, the jib, and the basket tilt. You can lift and rotate and all these different features. There's a leveling section down here on the left, and so basically you hold down the auto level button, hit extend, and it detects when it's level and when all of the outriggers are placed firmly on the soil. So now it's, I just rechecked that just to make sure everything was still in a good position from when I set it up the other day. And yeah, then I'll just go ahead and run the boom up and down and make sure everything is operating correctly. Oh, take off the safety clasps or really the transport clasps. Hold down the direction you want to go and the speed you want to go in, and it'll start lifting. So main boom is good, upper boom is good, boom extension is good, and jib extension is good. Basket tilt I don't mess with. It's set where it needs to be, and it maintains level based on just the mechanics of how it operates. So unless you needed to tilt it for some reason, just to reach an awkward position or something, usually just don't mess with the basket tilt. Now I'm going to rotate this thing and get it positioned where I can bring the cover over here and bring the boom down so I can grab it, attach it to the basket somehow, and then lift and bring it over. Loud noises. Now that it's hooked up to the basket with a couple of speedy clamps, I'm going to go ahead and climb in and see if I can get this thing lifted up. Wish me luck. That looks pretty good. Well, we've got the cover pretty much all the way on here now. And boy, there is just nothing like a fresh Shelterlogic. These things are awesome. It's so part and parcel of being an Alaskan to have one of these, I think. You know, you can barely swing a dead cat without hitting a Shelterlogic up here. Now the next stage of this is to take each one of these bottom tubes out, run them through their sleeve on the cover, and then reattach them. That's what holds the sides down nice and tight. So you tension the sides, really, this part of the sides, by pushing down on these while you've got the bar inside that sleeve. So that's a whole process I've got to do on that side and all along that side. That's going to be not too bad to work on, pretty easy. I couldn't be happier with how that went. It went exactly how I hoped. I got the cover attached to the boom lift, went up and over, put it on there, dragged it into position, no drama, no struggle, it just worked. Super. The final stage of finishing the assembly is to install the ratchet straps up front and in the back that cinch the cover around the front and back walls, and then install the cords that roll up the garage door, and then it's done. Oh, that's great. There's already a little cut in this one. That's no good. I'll have to go ahead and... I don't even know how that happened. This thing's brand new. It's just been sitting in a box. But I'll have to get a patch on this so that it can't start unraveling from here. Well, that's the front done. And you can see at the top, there's a pair of grommets up there. And that's where cords attach that run underneath the door, and in the bottom of the door there's a bar that serves as a weight, and the whole thing rolls up when you pull on a cord from the inside. It's a very handy way to have a garage door on a tent. In the spirit of homesteading, I'm going to try to reuse some of these old parts off the Shelterlogic. These are the pulleys that go on the inside at the top for the ropes to run through that pull up the garage door. They still look like they should work okay. They're not perfect, but you know, it's just kind of string going over a plastic bushing, so not really too complicated of a assembly. Now, I don't know why it is that the Shelterlogic people didn't include something more, I don't know, permanent or substantial seeming, but like I had to make these sort of custom little pieces to hold the rope shivs in place. You know, it's not a big deal, but like, I don't know, it seems like it wouldn't have been that costly to just include something, but you know, whatever. I've got the old cords here that have been in use for 3 years or whatever, and I'm going to reuse those too. There we go. There's the long one, which they both go through this pulley, but the long one goes through this far pulley also. So my rationale for reusing the parts is, I could use the new parts, but these I think will still work. And then I still have the new parts as spares for when they do finally fail. So these get tied through these little grommets up top, and I just tie a little bowline in them. It doesn't really matter what kind of a knot. You just want something that can't untie. And bowline is a good one because it generally will stay pretty well tied and not come loose. But then when you need to take it apart, it's actually not hard at all. All right, there we go. Yeah, those aren't quite right. That's okay. We'll get that straightened out on the inside. Another small enhancement that I'm making is for this bar that goes in the bottom sleeve of the garage door. I've got some Gorilla Tape around the junctions because it's actually 5 pieces that all fit together. The problem that I always had with this thing, anytime the wind would kick up and the door would get blown open, the zippers would come undone, this bar would separate and then the whole door would be kind of wonky and flapping all over the place. So attaching these pieces together should also keep it, keep it together and keep that from happening. Okay, there we go. Bottom bar is installed. Let's go ahead and try out the garage door. Raise it. Might take a little while for this thing to break in. The fabric's still fairly stiff, and since this is just kind of a simple pulley system, it's not necessarily the best method. It just kind of bunches up sometimes, but that'll loosen up over time as the fabric kind of breaks in and softens up a little. These are plastic, and you can see how this one has kind of eroded away. The cord running across it, it wears it out. And so now the cord kind of gets stuck down in this groove and it jams up. It doesn't operate smoothly. I have to replace it with a new one. Another one of my enhancements out here is I've got this little shop light that I hang off the bar. You saw it fall down earlier while I was getting everything set up. But it is so nice to have this thing out here and be able to have a light on. And this light by Feit or I don't know how you pronounce it, F-E-I-T, is suitable for damp locations, and it has a built-in RF-based motion sensor. So even as you walk up towards the Shelterlogic without being in sight of this thing, it will trigger and light up the inside. Good for those dark winter nights or mornings when you need to come out and get the tractor started and get ready to do some snow removal or whatever. All right. Now I'm sure that other people will have opinions about my excessive use of zip ties here, but that's all right. This is just going to keep it neat and tidy, and if I need to change it, I can change it, and it doesn't cost but a few cents. So now I've got my motion sensor light up there. now my cords are all neat and tidied up. I've got 2 extra outlets there that I can use to hook up the battery charger and the block heater for Clifford while he stays out here. The tractor is diesel, so starting in the winter in the very cold is very hard sometimes, as you saw in one of my previous videos. I'll try and link to that so you can see that disaster. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today. We got the Shelterlogic put back together, new cover on it. I've got a bunch of repairs done to the frame and the foundation. I've even got my light reinstalled and electric run out here, nice extension cord. It really went super well. I'm so glad that I have this boom lift and was able to use that to get this project done all by myself. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you're enjoying project videos like this. If you are, leave a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and we'll see you next time.